it's Stephanie, and I'm here today with my review of William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying. Now, I did this as a buddy read with Kate Howe and Whitney from All the Shelves, which was such a great experience. If you watch their channels, which you should, you know that they are just brilliant, insightful, just wonderful people. So it was really fun to get together and tackle Faulkner, you know? Anyway, they have both done their reviews, and I'm late to the party here. So I will link both of their reviews down below. You should watch them. They are just perfect reviews and as brilliant as you would expect from both of them. They do not let down in any way. So As I Lay Dying is told in multiple perspectives about the Bundren family, and it follows them during and after the death of the family matriarch, Addie Bundren, and the family getting together to fulfill Addie's wish. Her wish is to be buried with her family. Just to compare, that would be like if my husband came up to me and said like, hey honey, are we gonna get those really cute side-by-side plots so that our decaying corpses can rot together for all eternity? And I would be like, babe, that is the most romantic thing I have ever heard. But no, I want you instead to ship my body to Southern California where I grew up so I can be buried like with my mom and dad. So that was a very controversial decision for Addie to not want to be buried with her husband and, you know, the family that she started, to instead want to be buried in her hometown. And the great thing is we do get perspectives outside of the Bundren family. We get perspectives from neighbors and preachers and people that they come into contact with in town. So we do get to hear what people think of this decision and kind of what the town gossip is about it. We kind of get to find out the reasoning behind that, and that whole section is very, very fascinating. I really, really loved this book. There was so much about it. Kate was talking about it. It's just so grotesque, and his writing, Faulkner's writing, is amazing. I just love, there's a lot of morbid scenes in there, which I just loved. When the book opens up, Addie is on her deathbed, and she is propped up so she can look outside the window. She is very weak. She can't speak. So she just, lays in bed and looks out the window. Is she looking out to see like a beautiful scene to calm her down and give her peace before she goes? Not quite. The view she gets is of her eldest son, Cash, sawing away and building her coffin, which is what she wanted. She wanted to make sure that someone in her family was building her coffin and doing it right. So when it opens up, they are talking about how Cash is building this coffin and kind of showing it off to his mom, like, see, I did this and I did this, like, yeah, good. And it was just very strange, just the way they were so matter-of-fact about it. My favorite character was the middle child, Jewel, just like this fireball of action. And his perspective chapter, when it's his chapter, he's talking about how that is so weird and that he hates that his mom is like looking out and doing that and that he doesn't think it's right. And I just loved him because he was the only one that even addressed it as being something not normal. But we actually don't get any more perspective chapters from him after that. And I think it is because he wears his heart on his sleeve and he just like is action and he says what he is thinking. So you almost like don't need to know his internal dialogue because his internal dialogue is his external dialogue. So that was really interesting to see, like, that choice that Faulkner made to not give him any perspective chapters. All of the different perspectives had such unique voices that correlated, you know, with their experience and personalities, and you kind of got to know these characters and their voices as you read the book. There was some characters I struggled understanding a little more than others. For me, the hardest character to understand was Addie's daughter, Dewey Dell, which is a great name. We talked about that. Whitney said she's going to name her dog, if she gets a dog, she's going to name it Dewey Dell, which I am 100% behind. Dewey Dell is a pretty awesome name. But her chapters, she just almost talks in circles, and which makes sense because she is dealing with a big problem in the beginning, and you can tell that she is frantic, but it is written in a stream of consciousness style. She doesn't really come out and say anything. In her chapters, for me, I had a harder time really grasping what was going on. And so it was during that time I was really glad I did this as a buddy read, so I could be like, hey, are we supposed to assume that like such and such is going on with Dewey? Also, another thing that was just really cool, and Kate talked about this in her video, was that if you look, a lot of the characters have these extended metaphors, and like she mentioned, Vardaman is the youngest child. Like, he's the only one that's actually a child. I think he's supposed to be like 10. He keeps referring to a fish, and he is using this fish that he caught and killed to really try to put together and understand what happened with his mom, and understand death and existence, and that this fish was alive and now it's not. And just everything he talks about this fish is just really helping him process his grief. And there are a lot of characters that have an object or an animal that they refer to, and it has a different meaning for everyone. So that was really fun to get together and kind of try to decide like what that meant for them, or what they were using that object for. So it's just a tip for people reading it for the first time, or tips for future me reading it for the second time, to really look out for these metaphors, because like it's almost like the metaphors reveal a lot more about the characters than they will come out straightforward and say what they're feeling through this object than they are willing to say about themselves straight out. So, like I mentioned, we do get other perspectives outside of the family. So just really getting a look at how this family perceives themselves, and then how other people perceive them and what people think about them. I mean, spoiler alert, not a lot of people are really excited about this, you know, backwoodsy family dragging a decaying corpse, like caravanning it through their town. Like, it's been a few days and it smells. Like, people aren't like super thrilled about it. It was just interesting to get them and their interactions with these people, and to just see how that differs from being inside and hearing things from their perspective, and all of a sudden seeing what someone else thinks of that person. I also really loved all of these characters, and getting to know kind of their inner dialogue, and the difference between their inner dialogue and their, you know, external actions that other people see was really, really interesting. So I really liked it. Also, you see in this book, like I mentioned before with Vardaman, just these people dealing with, you know, grief and trying to wrap their heads around it, and wrapping their heads around existence and something being there and not being there, someone who just is and is not. So there was so much about this book that I just loved. I loved, as you are going through this book, you are getting to know these characters, and you kind of have an opinion, you know, from being in their heads for so many chapters. And then at the end, just some of those get totally turned on their head, and you really start to wonder, like, what? When I read the ending to this book, it was like, what? When I hauled this book, and when I talked about how I was going to do this as a buddy read, a lot of the comments I got were people saying that they have thought about reading Faulkner but are too scared, or, you know, they own the book, it's sitting on their shelf, they're not sure if they're going to. And I know Faulkner is one of those really intimidating authors. He's really scary, and people are really scared to pick up one of his books because they have a reputation for being confusing. This book isn't the easiest to read. Sometimes there's a lot of themes that Faulkner deals with, and with the characters being kind of Southern and uneducated in the time that it is, sometimes the colloquialisms and stuff is a little harder to understand, but it wasn't impossible. And I don't have any kind of a background in, you know, literary analysis. I didn't do any of this in college, really only did this at a high school level. So I guess I just want to say, like, if I can make it through this, you can make it through this. Like, I don't have any kind of special education that helped me understand this any more than the average person. Few things that really helped in our experience, I would say, number one, do it as a buddy read so that you can talk over the confusing parts, because I feel like in that setting, like, someone will catch on to what happened, or someone just having different perspectives and insights on the text just really, really helps. And taking it slow, doing only like 30-page chunks really, really helps, just to focus on it a little bit at a time, just to really go through the details. And if it is just to take in some of that writing, some of that just amazing wordsmithing. Is that a word? I don't know. But just those amazing phrases in there. Read it with a highlighter. I'm serious. Just get down to business, get yourself a highlighter, and annotate this book. It just is one of those books where you just, everything means something, and every other phrase is like, wow. So this is why Kate did this book as a start to a series called Game Changer Books, and I am 100% behind that too. Go for it, Kate. This book is amazing. I definitely recommend it. But that's all I have for you today, guys. If you want maybe different topics covered within this book, you can check out Kate and Whitney's review that I'm linking down below. Like I said, both awesome videos. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.